All right, welcome everybody to today's live onboarding. We're super excited to jump into this today. My name is Brady. I'll be your host today. I was on last week as well, so we're going to run it back again this week and go through another onboarding together. Just kind of a quick recap of what we're going to be doing today if this is your first time joining. If so, welcome. We're going to kick off the show doing, of course, a device setup and go over some best practices, followed by a live demonstration of Ledger Live. Ledger Live is our native software application that you can use with your Ledger Nano to view and manage your accounts on the blockchain. We'll go over some best practices of Ledger Live, how to navigate it, and some of the key features in there that will help you get started. At the end of the show, we'll wrap things up maybe around the last 10-15 minutes and do some live Q&A. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and wait a few minutes here if anybody needs to grab their Nano last minute, and you can feel free to set it up with me together. And I'll try to monitor the chat as well during the setup, just in case anybody has any questions during the setup. I'll be sure to try to field those during the onboarding and the setup of the device. Cool. All right, and hello everybody. Excited to get going today. Today we're going to be setting up the Ledger Nano S. We have the same device that we used last week as well. This is our World of Women Nano S Plus. So if you're not quite familiar with our line of products yet, we have two main products, the Ledger Nano X and the Ledger Nano S Plus. The S Plus, which is the one that I have here, does not come with a battery. So this one does require a wired connection at all times. The Nano X is our flagship model device. X, I think I said that. Yeah, the Nano X is our flagship model. It does come with a battery, and with that, it has Bluetooth capability, meaning that you can wirelessly connect your Ledger Nano to your phone and then use Ledger Live on your mobile phone so that you have a mobile and wireless asset management experience. There's one caveat to keep in mind when you're choosing between the two products. Maybe you haven't bought one yet, or maybe you just got yours and this is a bit of a heads up. If you are an iOS user, you have an Apple iPhone, and you want to only use Ledger Live on your phone, then you will need the Ledger Nano X. The Nano X cannot connect to an iPhone specifically with a wired connection. But if you're an Android user, then you can use either product with a wired connection or the Nano X with Bluetooth. So if you have any questions about that, feel free to throw it in the chat, and I'll try to cover those if you need a little bit more of an explanation. All right, I'm going to take a quick peek at the chat here and make sure there's not any preliminary questions that we can go over before jumping into setting up this Nano S Plus. All right, and for the time being, I'm going to try to grab questions that are specific to setting up a Nano and the onboarding process. If we have time in the Q&A at the later end of the show, then I'll grab some of those other off-topic questions just about Ledger in general and crypto in general. But for the remainder of this onboarding, I'm going to try to select just the onboarding specific questions. All right. Tretta asks, do you have to have a computer? You don't have to have a computer if you have an Android mobile phone. The Android mobile phone is able to do one key thing with the Nano, and that is to update the firmware. The firmware is the built-in software on this little tiny device. And over time, we do push firmware updates to add new features and apps to the Nano and keep up to date with all of the current apps, the updates that their communities push to make sure that those things are all up to date. So doing so, we have to keep the firmware up to date, and we will regularly push firmware updates. If you have an iPhone, you can't do firmware updates. So in that case, you will need a computer to keep your firmware up to date. So if you are an iPhone user and you don't have a computer, you could actually borrow a friend or family member's computer to perform a firmware update. That is totally safe. You would just simply install Ledger Live, update the firmware, remove the application from their computer, and go about your crypto journey on your phone. If you are a Android user, then you can absolutely update your firmware using the Android phone as well. So if you're an Android user, you pretty much can do pretty much everything with the Ledger Nano device and just your Android phone. Good question. All right, let's go ahead and hop in here and get this thing set up. So I'm going to switch over to the webcam so you can see what we're doing here. All right. So, and let's go ahead and see if I can go here. Perfect. Sorry for that slight mix up there. So let's go ahead and get this thing all set up. Oh, we got a double. Perfect. There we go. Sorry, got the video outputs a little mixed up there, but we should be good to go. All right, so let's go ahead and set this thing up. So what you're seeing is, again, our Ledger Nano S Plus World of Women edition. Like I mentioned, if you're using this device, it does not have a battery, so you will need a wired connection at all times. A couple other things that you're going to have when you unbox your Nano, you're going to, of course, have a cable. I'm using a different cable here, but this is the cable that the device comes with. It has a little Ledger logo on that, so keep that in mind. You don't technically have to use the Ledger cable, but you do want to keep in mind if you're using a different cable that it's one that supports data transfer. Sometimes if you buy cheap cables online, they're just simply charging cables, so they're not going to be able to support data transfer, as I just mentioned, and your Ledger won't actually be able to communicate with Ledger Live. Your Nano won't be able to communicate with Ledger Live if you're just using a charging cable, so keep that in mind if you're not going to be using the cable the device came with. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get this thing connected here. Oh, before I do so, there's also a couple other things to keep in mind in your packaging. You're going to have a little bit of a welcome sheet, and ledger.com/start is where you're going to download and install Ledger Live, which we will get to in a little bit, which, as I mentioned earlier, is our native software application to manage your crypto assets. And inside this sleeve here, you're going to have some sheets where you're going to be able to write down your 24-word recovery phrase. And this is the most important thing that we're going to do in this onboarding, is get our 24-word recovery phrase and write it down on this sheet. So you might have a sheet that looks like this, or you might have a sheet that's just a 2-column sheet, and there's 12 slots on each column. So you'll either have a 4-column or a 2-column sheet in your packaging. Mine has this 4-column sheet here. Cool. So when we connect this Nano, one thing to keep in mind is with the Nano S Plus, actually both of them, both the S Plus and the X, the port on the end here, this port is pretty snug. We want a really secure connection. So if you just kind of push it in like that, nothing's going to happen. The device isn't going to power on. You actually have to give it a good snug push, and you'll feel a click. And when that happens, the device will actually power on. So if you're getting set up for the first time and your device isn't turning on, make sure that you have it pushed in all the way. All right. Solva Brown says, I would like to put my portfolio on my Ledger. Well, you're in luck. We're going to show you exactly how to do that today. Flavio says, set up an Android phone. Yes, that is very good feedback. We actually do have an Android phone here in the office. Let's go ahead and do that next week. We'll do that next week. If you want to tune back in next week as well, we'll try to get the iPhone, or excuse me, the Android phone for one of these onboardings. So we'll be sure to do that. Pronto says they like this edition of Nano. Yes, I do too. This is a very, very cool design. All right. So what you're going to see here when you first power up the device is a welcome screen, and it's going to be a bit of a mini tutorial that the device is going to show you. So it's first off, what I did there was I pressed this left or this right button. There's just 2 buttons on this device, left and right. To proceed, I just clicked the right button. And that's what the device is going to be describing here. The words are a little hard to see probably on this webcam, so I'll kind of just describe you what's going on. It's just saying simply that you use the left and right buttons to navigate the device. And that's what you do here. So if I want to go to the right, I click to the right. If I want to go to the left, I click the left. And then when I land on an option in the Nano that I want to select, I press both buttons simultaneously. And when you press them simultaneously, that's how you select. And it's not a long hold. You're not pressing down on the device. You're just clicking. There's a simultaneous 2-click. That's how you select. And that's just what the device is describing here. And this next page is letting you know where you can download and install Ledger Live, which is the same website that you see here on your welcome packet. All right. It's saying here that Ledger Live, when you download and install Ledger Live, there's also an option to go through an onboarding with Ledger Live as well. But what you're going to see there is exactly what we're doing here today, so no need. Okay, so we're going to have two options, and this is an important step here. So this one says set up as a new device, which is what we're going to use today. If I click to the right, there's going to be another option. It's called restore from recovery phrase. You would use this option if you're not new to Ledger. Say, for example, this is an additional device that you've purchased, and you already have a 24-word recovery phrase from a previous device, and you want to just clone this device. You can do that. You can restore this device with an existing 24-word recovery phrase, but we're not going to do that today, and it's not really necessary for today's conversation, but you can keep that in mind. So to go back to the other option, I'm going to click the left button, and I'm going to choose Setup as New Device. And I'm going to select both buttons to confirm that. All right. Cool. So what you're going to do here is we're going to create a PIN code for the device. Now, you can choose between 4 to 8 digits. Obviously, the more digits, the more secure. One thing to keep in mind is when you set your PIN code, the PIN code is local to the device. So your PIN code has nothing to do with your 24-word recovery phrase from a blockchain perspective, right? The blockchain, where all of your assets are going to be living, it has no idea what your PIN code is on your device. The PIN code is simply for you to unlock the device, to be able to navigate the device and to sign transactions and things like that. It's similar to a PIN code, on your phone. So your PIN code on your phone is what you enter to get access into your phone, but your PIN code has nothing to do with, say, for example, your apps, like your mobile banking app, right? Your mobile banking app doesn't know what your phone PIN code is, and it doesn't really care. So it's just to get into the device. So we're going to set up a 4-digit one today. I would recommend setting up whatever you think is best for your use case. You only have 3 chances to enter the PIN code in correctly. And if you use too many, if you incorrectly enter your PIN code more than 3 times, the device will reset itself back to factory settings, and you'll have to restore it using the 24-word recovery phrase that you generated with the device. So let's go ahead and set a secure PIN code here. That's a bit of a joke, because for this demonstration, I'm just going to do 1111. Definitely don't recommend doing that. That is not a secure PIN code, but this is just for demonstration purposes, and it'll help me quickly just unlock the device while we're going through the tutorial. So you'll see here to navigate the numbers on the device when you're setting the PIN code, there's a little tiny underline under each number, and that is your cursor. So you'll just click left and right to navigate to the number that you want to choose. And then when you find the number that you want to choose, select both buttons to confirm it. So I'm going to do that for 1111. And then you'll know, and then when you're done, you'll see a little check mark. You want your cursor to be on that check mark when you're ready to submit that entry. So I'll hit both buttons to submit that entry, and then the device is going to ask me to confirm the PIN code that I just set up. So I'll go ahead and do that again. Confirm. Before I confirm, if you have, your device might have a slightly different PIN code interface. We recently just pushed out a firmware update that changed it to this horizontal interface. Our old interface was more of a slot machine style. So for each entry, you would roll through the numbers. So that's what you might be seeing if you've recently purchased a device and it's on older firmware. When you update your firmware, you'll then see this interface. So don't be surprised if your pin code entry looks a little bit different. And then I will select this check mark to confirm. Now the device is saying write down your recovery phrase. And this is the most important part of the setup process. So before we get into that, I'm going to check the thread or the chat and see if anybody has any questions about getting set up with your pin code. Teaching about getting started in crypto. Thanks for the positive feedback. Love to hear that. And Samir, I appreciate the good shout out as well. All right, like I mentioned, any questions that aren't related to the onboarding, I'll try to get back to at the end of the setup and demonstration. For now, I'll try to stick to just the onboarding related questions. All right. So like I mentioned, this is the most important part of the setup process. This is where you're actually going to get a 24-word recovery phrase, and we're going to write that thing down on this sheet of paper that came with your Ledger device. So this is where you should be paying the most attention when setting up your Nano is right now, this recovery phrase. This is the most important thing. Your recovery phrase, this piece of paper, is actually more important than this Nano device. You could completely forget about the Nano device and never use it again. And as long as you have this piece of paper with your 24 words on it, you will always have access to the accounts and the cryptocurrencies that are associated to this 24-word recovery phrase. So at this point, once you get your recovery phrase, your sole focus should be on this piece of paper, and the Nano itself, this cool looking device, should just kind of be an afterthought. It is important. Yes, it's very important. It helps you securely sign transactions and it holds your recovery phrase securely, but this is your backup, and this is your one and only backup to your funds on the blockchain. Nobody else can help you recover this if you lose it. It's gone. So keep that in mind. Cool. So to get past this screen, I'm going to click both buttons at the same time. And it's going to tell me that it's going to generate the 24-word recovery phrase for you. And I'm going to click to the right to proceed. And it's giving you all the warnings that I just gave you, saying, hey, this is your one and only backup. Make sure that you never lose it. Write it down and keep it secure. And then I'm going to press both buttons to continue, and I'm going to get my first word. Take a quick pause there, see if anybody has any questions. All right, looks like we're good. Before we start writing down this recovery phrase, there's one thing I want to go over. The Nano device doesn't like store recovery phrases and give you one of a handful of recovery phrases stored on the device. You can think of the device itself as kind of like a calculator. And on a calculator, you can run a random number function on a calculator, and if you hit enter, it gives you a random number. The device is doing something pretty similar. The device is running a function, a specific cryptographic function, whose output is a random 24-word recovery phrase. And that's simply what this device is doing. It's running that function, and it's giving you one of a nearly infinite amount of outputs. So one of nearly an infinite amount of different 24-word recovery phrases that could be used. So that's all this device is doing. It didn't come with a recovery phrase. It wasn't preceded with a recovery phrase. This recovery phrase wasn't stored in it and now it's showing you. It's simply just running a function and giving you that random output, which is your unique 24-word recovery phrase. Cool. So I just commanded it to run that function, and now it's giving me my random 24-word recovery phrase, and my first word is early. So I'm going to go ahead and start writing down my words. So my first word is early. You want to be very careful when you're writing down your recovery phrase. You want to make sure that you write it very legibly. If you're like me, I don't have the best handwriting, so I want to make sure that I'm clearly writing down each word. And when I write down a word, I'm going to go ahead and click to the right to navigate to the next one. So you see word number 2 on the screen here. That corresponds to my second entry slot here. So my second word is scissors. And I'll just do that for all 24 words. Speak is number 3. One thing to keep in mind too is all of the words that you're seeing here come from a specific list of 2048 words. So there's only 2048 words that are used to develop or to generate these recovery phrases. And those 2048 words are outlined in what's called the BIP39 standard. You can actually look up online BIP39 word list, and you'll see all of the words that are used to generate 24-word recovery phrases. And other length recovery phrases, but that's not important for today. So report is number 5, people is number 6. Also keep in mind, you should never be seeing somebody write down their recovery phrase, right? This is not secure in any way, and this recovery phrase will never be used. We are just doing this for demonstration purposes. You will never, ever want to reveal your recovery phrase anywhere online. Number 9 is Adam. One thing, too, to keep in mind is that you're recording the recovery phrase in the right order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pay special attention to the order that you're recording the words, and that they match up in the order that the device is giving you. Some people make the mistake of recording horizontally, left to right, when in this case it's supposed to be up and down. And the order of your words matter just as much as the words themselves, so make sure that you are recording in the right order. Number 10 is stomach. 11 is kitchen. An interesting fact, too, is actually only the first 4 letters are really all that matter for recovery phrase words. It's just the first 4 letters. There's not a single word in the 2048 words that have, there's no 2 words that have the same exact first 4 letters. So that's why the first 4 letters are the only ones that matter. We're almost done here. You want to, the reason that you really want to make sure that you're writing legibly is because there are some words in the word list that look very similar to each other when written down. For example, here, let me finish up here. I'll show you. 21 is relax. Log. And my last word is nominee. I haven't seen that word yet. That's interesting. All right. Like I was saying, there are some words, pairs of words in the word list that look strikingly similar to each other. For example, I'm just going to flip this over and use this as scratch paper. For example, the word blue. Blue is a word on the BIP39 word list, but so is blur. Blue and blur, when written down, especially if you have chicken scratch and you're writing really fast, could look strikingly similar to each other. And if you're mistaking one of these words for the other one, that would put you in a difficult situation, because you're getting that is not the same recovery phrase. So each and every single word matters. So make sure that you are writing very legibly, just in case some of your words look similar to other words. You can know for a fact that it's the right word. All right, so I got all 24 words done here. On my 24th word, and I'm going to click to the right. And this is telling you to go back, click to the left, and review all of your 24 words and make sure that it matches what you wrote down on paper. So this is kind of your way of checking your work. So you can go all the way through and make sure that each one matches. I'm going to click through it quickly because this is just demonstration, but you'll want to definitely make sure, go through it and cross-reference that, number 1 is number 1, right? My number 2 word is scissors. Number 3 is speak. Go through all 24 words just to make sure. And then when you're done, just click back to the right. Go all the way to the right. Back to this screen. And then when you're done, just select both buttons to proceed. And now it says confirm your recovery phrase. So the device is going to take you through a little bit of a quiz. It's going to make sure that you wrote down your recovery phrase correctly. This part can trip some people up, But you can think of this as a multiple choice quiz. So for each word, for each entry, each word, you're going to have a few options to choose from, and the device is going to make sure that you're choosing the right options. So for example, my word number 1 is early, and it says early on the screen, but you'll have a couple other options that you can choose from for word number 1. There was Adam, stomach, kitchen, or early. So I have these 4 options. So I have a multiple choice, and the device is saying, hey, out of these 4 options, which one is your word number 1, right? So it's quizzing you. So of course, luckily for me, the first option in my multiple choice quiz is early. So that's the correct entry. My word number 1 is early. And I got lucky again. My word number 1 is the first option as well, scissors. See if I can get that. Scissors, perfect. So I'll select both buttons to select that option. Okay, here's a different one. This one says Adam, but I know that my word number 3 is speak. It's not Adam. So I'm going to scroll through these options until I see speak, which is right there. That is option number 2. So I'm going to click that. And then we'll just go through all 24 words. Tretta says, I thought you were supposed to pick your own words. No, that is not the case. You do not pick your own words for your recovery phrase. As mentioned, the recovery phrases are generated by running a specific function, and that the output of that function is a random 24-word recovery phrase. So you're not picking those words. All right, village. Number 5 is report. People. Question. If you have any questions about this process, please throw it in the chat and I'd be happy to answer it. I know it can sometimes be a little bit confusing if you're brand new to this. All right, I'm about halfway through here. Let's see what questions we have. Yeah, Tretta and Rare Feed Tennis. Yeah, nope, you're not choosing your own 24 words. The device runs that function and outputs a random 24-word recovery phrase for you. And on top of that, this device can theoretically generate an infinite amount of recovery phrases, right? The 24-word recovery phrase that we're getting here right now is not this device's 24-word recovery phrase. That's not what's happening. It just gave you a random 24-word recovery phrase from running that specific function. And you could take that recovery phrase to a wide variety of other wallets and devices that generate recovery phrases using the same standard, which is nearly all devices. So yeah, recovery phrases are generic, right? They're wallet agnostic. You can use them across different wallets, but for security purposes, you only want to use your 24-word recovery phrase with Ledger devices because these are the most secure devices. All right, let's finish up here. Nerve, hazard, WAP. And again, this is a multiple choice option here. So I got 4 options for word 18, and I'm clicking left and right to look through my options the device is giving me, and I'm matching that up with what I know is my word. So my 18th word is cricket. So I'm looking for the word cricket within these options, which is right there. And then I press both buttons to select the right option. 19, trophy. 20 is Latin. Wow, I'm getting quite lucky. It seems I'm getting very lucky. There we go. Okay. So when you select your last option, it says your recovery phrase is set, which means congratulations, you passed the quiz, you wrote down your recovery phrase correctly. So I'll click to the right to move on from this screen. And it's going to tell you what I was warning you earlier, which is this is your one and only backup to your recovery phrase. This is an offline device. This is your own personal device that has no attachment to Ledger as an organization. So if you lose this recovery phrase, there's nobody who can help you recover that recovery phrase or any of the assets that are associated to it. You are the only one who has this recovery phrase, and who knows what these words are. And that right there is the essence of self-custody, right? You are taking ownership of your own accounts and your own access to those accounts. Nobody else has access to these accounts but you. So keep that in mind, and take that with a certain level of seriousness if you're going to be sending funds to accounts associated with this recovery phrase, because you are the only one who has the power to access those accounts and recover them if needed with this recovery phrase. So keep this thing secure. All right. I'm going to say never share it with anyone. You never ever want to share your recovery phrase with anybody, because whoever has these 24 words, whether it's you or somebody else somehow steals a copy of them, would have the same amount of access to your funds that are associated to this 24-word recovery phrase as you do. So you never want to give this out to anybody online. You never want to enter it into any sort of website or anything. You should never need to put your recovery phrase anywhere except in this Nano device and on this sheet of paper. That's it. So press both buttons to continue, and the device is going to lock that recovery phrase away in our secure element. So the secure element is the bread and butter of the Nano device. So that is what actually holds and secures your 24-word recovery phrase and restricts any sort of network connection from it. That secure element is offline. It never touches a network connection, meaning your 24-word recovery phrase can never be extracted from the device. What people run into, though, is sometimes folks will take this 24-word recovery phrase and they'll enter it on their computer somewhere. They'll put it on like a notepad on their computer, or they'll type it into an email and send the email to themselves so they can save it digitally. Or sometimes they'll even take a picture of it on their phone and have a picture copy of it. None of those things are secure, and those are exactly ways that your funds can be stolen from you without the need of having the device. If somebody were able to hack into your email or install malware on your computer and extract that copy from your notepad or wherever you had it recorded on your computer, just like that, they have full access to your funds on the blockchain. So you never want to put it anywhere on your computer, take a photo of it. You never want to digitize it in any way possible. I mean, think of all the apps that you've downloaded that you've allowed access to your computer or to your photos without second guessing, right? You download an app from the App Store, it asks for access to your photos, and you say, yeah. Any app that has access to your photos, if you had a photocopy of your 24-word recovery phrase, would have access to that photo and access to your 24-word recovery phrase. If paper is not exactly, doesn't suit your fancy, it's not durable enough, you can actually buy some of these really cool products on shop.ledger.com. These are ways to record your recovery phrase in metal, which is obviously offline and a little bit more durable than paper. So if you want to take your security one step further, go ahead and head over to shop.ledger.com and explore the options that we have for engraving or storing your recovery phrase in metal. These are really good options. This one right here is the bill file, but there's a couple other options on shop.ledger.com as well. Okay, cool. So let's get back to the device here. It says the device is ready. So I'll click to the right to proceed, and it says go to the dashboard. So I'll select both buttons to go to the dashboard. And now you see install apps. So this is the home screen. You've set up your device, you got your PIN, you got your recovery phrase. You're ready to go. You're ready for the next step. So let's take our mind away from the device a little bit, kind of put this thing to the side, and let's focus on Ledger Live, which is what I mentioned earlier. So I'm going to switch the camera shot here. So when you go to shop.ledger, or excuse me, when you go to ledger.com/start, when you go here, you will be able to download Ledger Live, which is what you're looking at here, which is our native software for viewing and managing your assets on the blockchain. We'll widen this out just a little bit. So you can install Ledger Live on your desktop computer for Mac, Windows, and Linux. If you're a Linux user, we only support Ubuntu 20.04 and above, and we don't support obscure derivations of Ubuntu or derivatives, excuse me, of Ubuntu. Just Ubuntu Core 20.04 and above. So keep that in mind. So when you download and install Ledger Live and you open it up for the first time, this is going to be your screen, and you'll just want to click Get Started right here. And select the Nano device that you have. So we have the Nano S Plus, so I'll select that there. So there's a few options here to choose from. Since we've already set up the 24-word recovery phrase on the device, we're going to choose this option here. All we need to do now is connect this device to Ledger Live. We already have the thing set up. If you want to go back and set up your device on your own time with Ledger Live, you can set up a new Nano S Plus here, and it'll take you through a tutorial. But if your recovery phrase is already set up, you're ready to go, all you need to do is click this option here. You can ignore this option because we're just not going through that today. So this will be your go-to option. Let's connect your Nano S Plus. So what you see here is our genuine check. So this is a really important step. Ledger Live is actually going to scan the firmware on your device and make sure that it is genuine Ledger firmware. So this is how you gain peace of mind that the device that you received in the mail is a genuine Ledger device that has not been tampered with. If a device, God forbid, was received that was the firmware, somebody tried to tamper with the firmware, it would not pass this genuine check. It would instantly alert you to that. And if you ran into that situation, please reach out to us at support.ledger.com and we can help talk you through options. So you can't see it because the webcam here is blocking the option, but right under the webcam in the lower right corner says check my Nano. So I'm going to click that button. And now it's doing exactly what I just described. It's scanning this device to make sure that everything is genuine. And it wants me to approve the connection on my device. So it's saying allow secure connection to Ledger Live. I'll select both buttons to say to say yes. If you click to the right, it'll say deny, but we don't want to do that. We want to click allow. And just like that, everything is all good to go. This is genuine Ledger Live, or excuse me, genuine Ledger firmware. So again, below the webcam here, there is a continue button in the lower right. So I'll go ahead and click that. And here we are. Now we are inside Ledger Live. A quick recap of what just happened. The reason that I had to allow the Ledger Live connection on the device here, the reason I had to physically approve that is because the Nano does not, here I'll go to the face shot here. The Ledger Nano actually does not trust Ledger Live. The Nano doesn't trust anything, right? Everything is a potential threat in the eyes of the Ledger Nano. So even though Ledger Live still has the word Ledger in it, your Nano does not trust Ledger Live, right? It's a software application on your computer that it is wary of, and it wants to make sure that you trust it. Do you trust Ledger Live? Yes or no, that's what it's asking. And that's a very good thing, right? It's very good that your Nano doesn't trust anything because it wants you to be very mindful of everything that you're doing and making sure that you trust the applications that you're connecting to it. So let's go back here to Ledger Live. All right. So you'll see here there's your navigation on the left-hand side to navigate Ledger Live. So we'll have Portfolio, Market, Discover tab. These are the top three that are going to be available. This Portfolio tab is the most important tab that we'll dive into today. The Market tab is just showing you the market prices for various cryptocurrencies. This is similar to like your CoinGecko's or your CoinMarketCap. It's just a price aggregator. It shows you the current market prices for things. And the Discover tab is kind of like our store of applications that you can use within Ledger Live. We'll get back to this in a little bit. Let's go back up here to the Portfolio tab. This is where we're going to add our very first crypto account. So I'll go ahead and click Add Account. So what do we mean by add account? Like what exactly are we doing here? Well, we are deriving an account for a specific crypto asset from the 24-word recovery phrase on the device. So say, for example, I want to add a Bitcoin account. I want a Bitcoin account. I want my Ledger secured Bitcoin account, right? I'll go ahead and select Bitcoin and hit continue. And you'll see that it's going to say checking app dependencies because I need a Bitcoin app on my Nano for the Nano to be able to generate my Bitcoin account address. So out of the box, the only thing the Nano knows how to do is help you set up a PIN code and generate a 24-word recovery phrase. That's all it knows how to do. You have to teach it what Bitcoin is, what the Bitcoin network is, and how to derive a Bitcoin address for it to be able to do that for you. So you can think of these apps, what was just installed on my Nano, as like an instruction manual for the Nano. It teaches the Nano what the heck this cryptocurrency is and how it can interact with it. So I'll go ahead and you'll see on your device it says open the Bitcoin app. So I'll need to open the Bitcoin app that was just installed to be able to get my Bitcoin account. And right now it's synchronizing, so it's fetching the Bitcoin account that is associated to the 24-word recovery phrase on this device. Once this synchronizes, I'll be able to add that account in Ledger. In Ledger Live, excuse me. All right, so I'll go ahead and select add account now. And now I'll hit done. And now I have this, this tab option right here called accounts. I'll select this. And this is where I'm going to see my list of accounts, including this Bitcoin account that I just added. So let's recap there. What did we just do? We did a few things. We, for one, connected our Nano to Ledger Live. And then Ledger Live helped us install an instruction manual on the Nano that tells the Nano what Bitcoin is and how to generate a Bitcoin account and its address. So now that the Nano has the instruction manual installed on it, Ledger Live was actually able to fetch that Bitcoin account for you. So that means that this Bitcoin account right here belongs to the 24-word recovery phrase on this device. It doesn't belong to the device. It doesn't belong to the Nano S Plus. This Bitcoin account could care less about this Nano S Plus. This Bitcoin account belongs to the 24 words that are on this Ledger Nano S Plus. That's why if you ever lost this device or you wanted to get a second device, you could use these words, restore another hardware wallet, or even in some cases software wallets, which we don't recommend, and you would get back access to this account right here because this account belongs to these words. So keep that in mind. So now that I have this Bitcoin account, what do? Right? It's an empty Bitcoin account. It came from these words that have never been used, so there's no Bitcoin in it. Well, I have Bitcoin on Coinbase and I want to secure it with Ledger. How do I do that? Well, you simply just send that Bitcoin from Coinbase to your Bitcoin account right here. So to do that, you'll just select your account and then you'll click this receive button. And then I want to receive Bitcoin, so I'll click continue. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be fetching our Bitcoin address. And you'll see on the device that you also have the address displayed on the screen of your device. You always want to check that what is displayed on the device matches what you see here in Ledger Live. This goes back to my earlier point where this device doesn't trust Ledger Live, so it's saying, hey, I understand Ledger Live is giving you this address here, but make sure that matches what I'm showing you because I am the source of truth. This is your Bitcoin address, so make sure that it matches what you're seeing in Ledger Live. Once you've made that, once you've confirmed that, you can go ahead and click these two boxes right here, to copy your address. So address copied. And then on the device, you just click to the right and click approve. And then that window will close in Ledger Live. All right. So now, sorry, my computer is stalling just a little bit. Let me close and reopen Ledger Live really quick. My computer just froze on me a little bit. There we go. All right, let's get back on track here. So I'll go back to this accounts tab here, back to Bitcoin. And then, like I said, we clicked receive and we got that address and then we copied it to our clipboard. So now what I would do is I would go back to Coinbase. And in Coinbase, I would make a withdrawal of my Bitcoin. I would select my Bitcoin. I would say, hey, I want to withdraw this stuff. And then Coinbase is going to ask you, okay, well, where do you want to send it to? And in the destination field, in the to field, is where you'll paste the Bitcoin address that you just got from Ledger Live. And then when you complete that transaction, once it settles on the blockchain, your Bitcoin will show up here in your Ledger secured Bitcoin account. And that's it. Once it shows up here in Ledger Live, that Bitcoin is stored and secured by the 24-word recovery phrase that's securely stored on your Nano. From there, you just rinse and repeat for all other cryptocurrencies that you own outside of Ledger. So say, for example, I also own some Ethereum. Maybe I have Ethereum in MetaMask. Maybe I created a MetaMask wallet a while ago, and I want to get my Ethereum from MetaMask to Ledger. Well, I'll just do the same thing. I'll select Ethereum. I'll hit continue. Ledger Live is going to install the Ethereum app on my device because right now my device, my Nano, does not know what Ethereum is. So the app is going to teach my Nano what Ethereum is and how to fetch an Ethereum address based on my 24-word recovery phrase. And that's technically not 100% accurate. The Ledger Live doesn't know what your recovery phrase is. It's just asking your Nano for the public address to the Ethereum account associated with it. All right, so now I'm getting my Ethereum account in Ledger Live. And it's going to take a little bit to sync. Sometimes when network activity is high, like it is today, syncing can take a little bit longer. So here's my first Ethereum account. Keep in mind too, your account is totally, you can change the name of your account. So maybe I want to call it My Ethereum or maybe Main Ethereum. The name of your account is just local to Ledger Live. It has nothing to do with anything on the blockchain. It just helps you delineate what account this is and what you're using it for. Make sure this box is selected and then add account. So yeah, I would just do the same thing. I would go to my Ethereum account. I misspelled main, but look, I can just edit it right here. Main Ethereum. And then hit X. I would just do the same thing here. I would click receive, click continue, verify the address on my device that it matches what I see in Ledger Live, click copy, head over to MetaMask, make a transaction from MetaMask. I want to send this Ethereum to Ledger. I want this ETH to this address, and then I would paste this address in the destination field in MetaMask and then complete that transaction. And again, once it settles on the blockchain, it'll show up in your Ethereum account here in Ledger Live. And then just rinse and repeat that for all of the cryptocurrencies that you own externally. All right, so that's how you add accounts and how you secure your, and that's how you add your accounts in Ledger Live and then send and migrate your crypto over to Ledger Live. Let's see what else we got here. We do have a cool Discover tab that I mentioned earlier that has all kinds of really cool integrations that you can choose from. Keep in mind, all of these things that you're seeing here, aside from Ledger Market, these are all independent organizations. These are projects that we partnered with and incorporated them into Ledger Live. So these aren't Ledger products. These are other products out there that you can use directly through Ledger Live, but these aren't Ledger products. So there's some swapping options, like some DEXs, like Paraswap. There's lots of stuff like tax tools to help you with taxes. There's some apps where you can actually purchase crypto with your credit card if you want to directly through Ledger Live, and some other DeFi applications as well. So be sure to check out this Discover tab. There's a lot of good stuff in here. There's also staking options. Like Stater Labs, if you want to do Polygon and BNB staking, you can directly through Ledger Live, and a couple other staking options as well for Ethereum, like Kiln, and there's one other here, drawn a blank on the name, but Kiln is a liquid staking option. or excuse me, Kiln is an actual Ethereum staking option. There's also a liquid staking option called Lido that you can use directly through Ledger Live as well. All right, this buy sell tab is another way of getting connected with some of those purchasing partners in the Discover tab. So I could purchase crypto directly from Ledger Live here. There are swapping options in Ledger Live as well. Again, Ledger isn't swapping these things for you. This tab is going to connect you with third-party partners that can perform your swap. Keep in mind, you can't just swap whatever you want, right? Certain providers support certain swapping pairs, and not everything is swappable, right? You might not be able to swap your Bitcoin for Shiba Inu doggy token, right? There just might not be a provider in Ledger Live that supports that specific swap. So there are a lot. There's a lot of options here. There's a lot of things that you can swap, but this isn't a universal swap thing. It's not possible yet. But yeah, so keep that in mind. We also do have our Ledger card. So this is our CL card that you can sign up for. This is rolled out to most of the European Union, the EU. It's not quite in the US or Canada yet. But this will allow you to spend your crypto on everyday purchases. So you'll be able to load up this card with your crypto assets and actually go and spend money like you would just at grocery stores or gas stations or what have you. And it converts that payment, it makes that purchase for you and then converts the crypto that you've loaded up with it into that fiat. So it's a great option to make everyday purchases with your crypto if that's something that you're interested in. So this is the My Ledger tab. This is where you will manage all of the apps that are installed on the app. So remember when we were adding our accounts, we installed the Ethereum app and the Bitcoin app. Well, here's where they are in the Discover tab. So you can manage your apps here. If you ever no longer need an app anymore, you can go to this tab here and delete that app. Deleting the app does nothing to your funds, right? Your funds are on the blockchain. They are not in the Ledger. They're not in Ledger Live. This app was just an instruction manual on, to teach the device what Ethereum is, for example. But if you want to install it, it doesn't affect your accounts on the blockchain. It just unstalls it from the Nano. And you could add it back from the app catalog whenever you want. Awesome. The portfolio tab at the very top here, this is the last thing that I'll talk about. This is where you'll see a holistic view of all of your accounts that you have added, and it'll give you just an overall view of your entire portfolio. All right. Well, I hope that was helpful for everybody. I think that wraps up setting up the device and Ledger Live. So I hope that was informative. I hope that helps give you some confidence going out into the crypto world, having a bit more of an understanding of exactly what this Ledger Nano is, what Ledger Live is, and how it relates to the crypto space and how it will be a part of your crypto journey. So I'm going to take a quick look here. I only have a couple minutes left, but I'll try to rapid fire some of these questions in the chat here. So if you have any last minute questions, feel free to toss them in and I will try to get to them. And it looks like we did have a mod in here. So thank you so much for helping out with some of these questions while we were going through the onboarding. Scott Lewis has some questions about Helium. Yeah, Helium we did have a Helium app, and then you could use like the Helium command line interface wallet with your app. Not a very friendly user experience with Helium so far. So I'm not sure if there's been any more developments with Helium. I'm not sure really what they're up to. I heard something about like switching to Solana. I don't really know. So yeah, sorry about that. There's just not a whole lot of insight I have on Helium. Guns Donovan asks, when is XDC going to be supported without going through Ethereum? Well, XDC is already supported, and there is an app for XDC. So if you go to the My Ledger tab, and it says my device is locked, and look, my device is locked. So we'll need to unlock the device to be able to connect to the My Ledger tab. And then I'll click retry. then I can actually, nope, not XRP, XDC. We do have an XDC app. So we can install that on the Nano, and we're going to teach the Nano, hey, this is the XDC, and this is how you would derive an account for XDC. However, Ledger Live doesn't know how to add an XDC account yet. We still don't have that support built out. But since we have this app on our device, we can, so yeah, if you were to go here and try to like add XDC, we just don't have it yet. It's not supported in Ledger Live. You can't view and manage XDC accounts in Ledger Live, but you can use a third-party wallet, and you can do this with any cryptocurrency that we don't support in Ledger Live. Remember, Ledger Live and your Nano are two separate things, right? So your Nano might be able to support things that Ledger Live doesn't quite support yet. So if Ledger Live doesn't support something, you can use, in this example, you can use mycrypto.com. And you can, which would be like a substitute to Ledger Live to view and manage your XDC. So I could pop over here. I have the XDC app on my device now, and I'm going to open it by selecting both buttons. And then you'll see application is ready on your device. That means that the XDC app is opened. And then there is a Ledger option here to connect your Ledger Nano. And instead of Ethereum network, I'm going to use the XDC network, which is down here somewhere. Connect to Ledger Wallet. I'm going to select the Nano S here in my HID device and connect. And I'm going to, since it's empty, I need to toggle this off because I want to see my empty accounts. So yeah, here are my XDC accounts that are related to this 24-word recovery phrase on my device. So maybe I want to add this one. So I'll select it and then I'll hit add one account. And there we go. So now I can use XDC to get to my Ledger secured XDC address. And then that's where I'll actually be able to send, I'll be able to get my XDC address here so that I can send XDC to this address from wherever it currently is. Maybe I have it on an exchange. I want to withdraw from that exchange and then send it to this address. And then it'll show up right here in my crypto wallet where I can view and manage it. If Ledger Live ever supports XDC in the future, you're going to see this exact same account in Ledger Live and see the exact same XDC amount in Ledger Live as well. So you'll be viewing it through two different software applications. I hope that was helpful. All right, Juan Garza asks, how do I buy and sell? Good question. Let's hop back over to Ledger Live. You can click the Buy Sell tab here. And the partners that you get connected with, so maybe I want to buy from Coinify. So I have Coinify as the partner that I was automatically connected with. That means that Coinify is a partner that supports the region that I'm connected to the internet in. So each custodian that allows buying and selling, they don't support, not one custodian supports everything, right? They can't support every single country because each country has its own rules and regulations around purchasing cryptocurrencies. So these different providers specialize in different regions of the world. So I'm connected with Coinify because they are the one that best supports the country that I'm in and the state within the country that I'm in, because I'm in the United States. So different states have different rules and regulations, and you'll have different providers based on even the state that you're in. So I clicked Coinify in some cases. So if I click Coinify, there we go. Then I'll be able to choose if I want to purchase Bitcoin, or there's a fixed amount of other options that you could buy from. So these are the things that Coinify supports buying and selling. So you might not be, the token that you're looking for, the coin that you're looking for might not be supported by Coinify. And if that's the case, you might just have to buy it from your preferred exchange and not directly through this buy tab. These partners only support certain assets. So you can select this, and then you'll have to go through a KYC process to complete this up, or to complete this transaction in some cases. In some cases, you won't have to KYC. It just depends on the provider itself. I'm not going to go through this full flow today because I'm not going to connect with my credit card and stuff like that. But you'll work through this flow, and Ledger Live will walk you through the flow of selecting the account that you want to deposit the funds into, and then submitting your credit card with Coinify to actually make that purchase. It's a very seamless experience where you'll walk through that. Ledger Live will prompt you with everything. So I hope that helps. All right, Guns Donovan, of course, happy to help. All right, I think unfortunately I wasn't able to get to as many questions as I wanted to today. We did run a little bit over time. So thank you all for joining in today. I hope that was helpful. Again, I hope that you're more confident in your crypto journey now that you know a little bit more about what the Ledger device does, what Ledger Live can do for you, and some of the various different things you can do within Ledger Live. So thank you again. Feel free to tune back into YouTube. Next Wednesday at 4 p.m. we'll be doing an Ask Me Anything session. So we'll just come here live, field any questions about anything Ledger or Web3 related, and help you with any questions that we can. And again, we'll do this same show next Friday. We'll do another onboarding. So if you are just tuning in late, or if you want to come back for another onboarding session, we will be doing this every Friday at 4 p.m. PST. And those Ask Me Anything sessions are Wednesday at 10 a.m. Thanks again, everybody. Remember, not your keys, not your coins, and keep this thing safe, right? Once you have this, you can pay a little less attention to this. This thing doesn't matter as much. It's all about the words. So keep your words safe. Keep these in a secure location that nobody has access to except you. And feel free to reach out to support.ledger.com with any questions. All right, bye, everybody.